This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by my good friend, top trainer, manager, pundit. There's nothing this man can't do. Gary Logan. Gary, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. All is good at the moment.
And you've got Deion Jumah about to make his
Deion,
comeback against Mikael Lowal.
3
weeks, just over 3 weeks away as we talk right now. Before we talk about Deion and you know what's gone on in terms of him getting back, maybe you can explain to me, because I'm not particularly sure. Why is this fight not for the vacant British title?
As last I heard, it was, mate. That's what we're getting ready for.
So I looked on Boxrec earlier and it said it was a 10-rounder.
No, stupid Boxrec need to sort themselves out. Yeah, it's official. Robert Smith said we needed a 4-rounder the other day because Deion's been out for so long. In his infinite wisdom, and we had that, and we're good to go. 26th of March, Wembley.
Just tell us about the challenges in Deion coming back, because he had the eye injury, surgery, then he had to fight you had to fight as well to get his license back. How challenging was that?
You know, very testing. I can see the board's perspective protecting fighters, but also there's precedent. Abner Mares has had 3 detached retinas post his first title and then went on to win another 2. So, you know, if the eye strength, obviously the eye strength and the eye safety is of paramount importance. But if you've got top eye surgeons saying that, you know, eyes are now the technology behind eye surgery now is far ahead of its day when Sugar Ray Leonard first got the detached retina, which meant your career was over. We've moved on. All the sciences have moved along, and fighters are able to fight post-surgery now, and that's the case with Deion.
How have you managed to kind of keep Deion positive during this time and kind of reassure him there is a path back?
I played a little part to do with it, but as I've said, you know, and I say to my other fighters, sometimes I drive them hard because Deion Jumah has set such a precedent in how you apply yourself as a professional, you know, how you have to have self-belief, how you have to have that belief not waver. And, or if it does waver, you got to really decide. And we've had these tough conversations, and I've said this to Deion that, you know, he's had these tests time and time again for his health and the eye surgery and everything, and time again he's made that decision to come back. When sometimes you could see him thinking, well, he has said, Gary, well, you know, why should I push on with this? And I said to him, well, listen, every time you say that to me, I always say to you the right thing. Go home, sleep on it, talk to your family, and if you really want to do it, then you should do it. Because if you really feel you can walk away from it, having given it your best, then I will totally back you every way. If you say you want to come back and do it again, I will back you every way. But it must be 100% either way. If you half think about quitting and then you quit a year ago and then a year later you come back, I will say no. And, you know, but I said to him, you know, the number one thing is he must have full commitment to this. He must truly believe that there is something out there for him. And he has done that. And he's more than met me halfway in his application. And I think on the 26th, it will be his crowning, you know.
Well, it's well worthy of the British title. They're both unbeaten, both very talented fighters. What do you make of Mikhail Lowell? Because initially, when you thought Deion was going for the title, it was likely to be against Chris Billam-Smith.
Mikhail's come a long way. He too has kept working at it. Not great amateur experience. I mean, he's got a lot of things going against him in Deion Jumah, who's one of the cutest southpaws. He's definitely the most cutest southpaw in the actual cruiserweight division in Britain. He's got lots of experience, both amateur and pro. He's been in there with a lot of good fighters. He's had sparring camps with the likes of Maris Bredis and more than held his own. Sparred really well with David Adeyale. You know, so there's been countless fighters that Deion's more than held his own with. And with Mikhail, He's had some highlight reel knockouts. He's looked decent doing it, but me as a coach, I have to look at the reality of what he's doing and who he's fighting and how good they are. And we see things in him that right now would be beneficial for him to fight other fighters, but not beneficial for him to take on Deion Jumah, in my opinion. I think Deion exposes certain flaws in Mikael's armory. He's a very, very, very powerful puncher, but we've got plans to neutralize that and take advantage of it.
Now, I wanted to talk to you about the Josh Taylor Jack Catterall fight in more depth, and we can do that in a few minutes. But obviously, you're going into a boxer show against a boxer fighter, one of their kind of touted prospects, if you like. Is there any concern at all about judging, given what's happened recently?
No, not really, because I don't know if anyone knows, but we've got a boxer contract as well.
Okay.
So we're healthily promoted by them. They don't stand to really lose. The best man goes on, and the other one lives to fight another day. So we've got to deal with them as well. Obviously, he's had more exposure than Deion because he's been more active. But I've got no doubt that after the 26th, the talk will be about Deion Jumah's progression, and their talk will then be about Mikael Lawal building himself back up again, like I believe he can do.
Let me talk to you about judging more generally, as there's no concern specifically about that fight. What did you make of Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, first of all? What did you make of the fight?
I don't believe the judges was inflicted by who was promoting the fight. I think they were just, let's keep it real, they had a bad call. They made a bad call, there was Jack Catterall. I watched the fight only last night and watched it with the volume down so as not to seek any bias from the commentators, which, it happens to all of us, and Jack boxed out of his skin. Going into the fight, I always thought Jack presented problems to Josh, but I didn't think enough. And the number one problem I thought he would present is that a southpaw against a southpaw is always a difficult fight for a southpaw, And he showed us, and Jamie Moore showed us with the work that they did together, building up to this fight, that they'd seen flaws in Josh that they could take advantage of. And I thought they did. I thought I had him winning it 115, 113. Some would say, well, that's close enough for it to not be an argument. But there were some rounds that, you're inclined to say by round 9, he's dominant. He's in a dominant position, and Josh does need a knockout. And we saw that with Ben Davison saying, at the end of the 11th round, you need a knockout, So even his own corner knows that that night has been a struggle, Take him out of to Josh Taylor. He's worked hard to become undisputed champion, and God, to have turned pro at the same weight, some 5-6 years later, that you're still doing that weight when you were doing it for Team GB can't be easy. And I've got no doubt that would have had an effect on him, on his energy levels. But that's not Jack Catterall's business. That's not Jamie Moore's business. Their business is boxing to the best of their ability, and that's what they did. And Jack really, really set himself up. Sadly, he probably won't get to fight for the undisputed title, but he's back in the reckoning. If Josh chooses to vacate, which I'm hearing he's going to, then Jack will fight for a share and a portion of that fight. And it's a great story should he win it. This is. I hope he's back on Boxer again. I hope he's on Sky Sports again. And I hope that they start telling stories about fighters again, like Sky Sports used to do. Tell a story, build a fighter up. This is a story. He was a bitter loser, unfortunate loser, and can he win another world title? It's a great story. Everybody loves an underdog, and I think Jack deserves that.
On the judging specifically, you said it was a bad call. I'm inclined to agree with you, but there's been a number of bad calls in the UK over the last year or so. Do we need to change things? And if so, what do we need to change?
That's a very interesting question, because it is down to interpretation. And I'd like to believe it is just about interpretation, and maybe we need to clearly define interpretation. Do we need to say, you know, when you're judging a fight, you got to ask yourself, who's winning a round and why? If one guy's landing more shots but not hurting the other fella, but he's landing more shots, then by rights, he should be winning that round. If he doesn't catch the guy, like there was a lot of rounds where Josh didn't hurt Jack. Jack's definitely bossed the round. Not necessarily hurt Josh, but definitely bossed the round. So you didn't need a stunning punch to clearly define the round. But the stats normally ring true. If someone's landing more shots than the other and looking like they're in control for large portions of a round or fight, then come on, man. You're supposed to use what we put you in that position for. And many times, Victor Locklin, who's one of my favorite referees, and Ian John Lewis, they've got it right. But on this night, they got it wrong. And they need to second guess themselves. And they need to maybe be, I think judges in close fights need to have a sit down with board members or somebody appointed and say to us, all right, we need you to take us through this fight and tell us how you're scoring it. What are you seeing? You know, because there's a mass outcry now because you got this so wrong. There's a mass outcry, you know, and I think they need to be held accountable in that sense. I think we need to set up a review board or a review panel, a bit like VAR really, but what do you know, man, we ain't got that right sometimes.
Yeah, it's not a shining example, but I get your point.
You know what I mean? I'd love to believe when we all said VAR, we need to bring in VAR, then we brought it in and it was appalling. And only now, up until Mike Riley last weekend with the Everton game, did we kind of start saying, oh, they're getting it wrong again. But I think they need to, I think judges need to know that. I think it's easy to think, right, I am the judge and I'm the referee and I'm never wrong. And sometimes everybody needs to be held accountable.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
I'm like that as a corner, man. I've got to be held accountable. So why can't they?
Very true. Now, another thing that's kind of caught the attention this week was the press conference for Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, set for April 23rd, Wembley Stadium. The challenger for the WBC heavyweight title, conspicuous by his absence, it has to be said, albeit training hard out in Portugal. What did you make of that? It seemed I was there. It was a very strange experience to have a press conference with no second fighter.
Yeah, I think I'd like to believe that Dillian is just saying, you know what Dillian's like, man. He doesn't kowtow to anybody. He breaks rules, which is why he's liked and loathed in equal measure. And I know Dillian, he just wouldn't have wanted to break. He just didn't want to break the cycle. Oh, even though he should be there to promote the fight. Simple as, you know what you got to do. This is what the contract that you signed, it does say that you need to turn up to help promote the fight. He'd better get it right. I don't think they're going to keep tolerating it. But I can knowing Dillian as I've known him over the years when he used to be with my mate Chris Oko, he's a stubborn so-and-so, and he's got his way of doing things, and he doesn't like breaking the habit, and his habit is to train bloody hard. So now he's been in Portugal, he's been there for a while. For him, he's thinking, I'm gonna get on this plane and it's gonna break my routine. Some would say, yeah, he's right. And an awful lot of us who were so looking forward to that press conference because we thought, you know, anytime there's a Tyson Fury press conference, it's always headline news, but we thought him against the bad boy, which is Dillian Whyte, would have been even better. But unfortunately, we didn't get it, and we have to hope that we do get it before the fight. I think we will.
Do you think, I mean, you said it's about kind of breaking the training thing. Do you think the reason we haven't seen this from Dillian before is that usually he has more of a lead time? So he wouldn't normally be out in Portugal already. It's what, only about 6.5, 7 weeks till the fight.
Yeah, and I think he knows, after all what he's been through with the World Boxing Council, that this is it. This is his one opportunity. He probably won't get another opportunity to fight for one of sport's most prestigious titles, you know? And, you know, whether he's doing it rightly or wrongly, he's doing it his way, as he always has done. And we're going to see when they fight in April, whether he's got it right.
Do you think there's an element of bad blood there, though, in that if it was, you know, a matchroom show, or he was getting paid a percentage of the pay-per-view, because he's obviously not happy with the person? I understand why. Do you think if the situation was different, he might have broke his schedule to attend?
Who knows? I would like to think so. I mean, obviously, he didn't sign the contract, which he was unhappy with, not until the very last moment. And I think he was boxed into a corner, and I think his lawyers probably said to him, mate, you don't take this opportunity now, it's not going to come around again. Or you're going to have another eliminator. And let's face facts, like him or loathe him, for those fans that like Dillian and those that don't like him, because I mean, I think it's a very interesting time, because it's not the greatest time in heavyweight history, but they are him and Tyson with AJ in the mix. It's so polarizing, isn't it? The personalities. And I think that he didn't like the position that he'd been put in. He thought he deserved more. And this is it now. So he's just grinding, getting his head down, and he's got one chance at this thing, and he's got to take it.
A nice, easy one to round off for you. Fury, Whyte,
and I will.
Oh, go on.
Sorry, one more thing. I will say this: if Tyson, and he does look really well, he looked really well at the weigh-in. I mean, at the press conference the other day. If he approaches this fight in the technical manner that he approached Wilder in the last fight, he could well end up getting chinned. I don't think he can take the chances. I think Dillian is a significantly better boxer than Wilder, and he's got to be really careful. He's got to, I think he's just got to box him long at the outside, keep him long, and then bomb him from range. Him getting up close and trying to do what he did with Wilder could be detrimental to him.
Okay. Now, last thing I wanted to ask you: Whyte, Fury, Usyk, Joshua, and obviously we don't know when the latter fight's going to happen for obvious reasons. Who comes out on top ultimately out of those four men?
God, with Usyk, who knows now with what's going on in Ukraine and those guys' commitment to their country. You know, I mean, Jesus Christ, the worst thing could ever happen is that something happens to Usyk on the front line, you know, because them Ukrainian boys, they're not playing. They are talking about going to war. And they're not going to hide behind their reputations. They're not doing this. It doesn't come across like they're doing it for PR to raise the morale of Ukrainian people. Even Lomachenko and the brothers and the Klitschko brothers, they look like they're going to be on the front line, man. And it looks serious stuff. So right now, he's not even thinking about fighting again. But say Putin doesn't do his craziness and these fights are going to happen. If I was being honest, I think Usyk beats AJ again. And I don't want to say that. I'm a massive AJ fan. I think he's done wonderfully well for the British boxing game. And I think Fury gets past Wilder. And I think in Fury beating Usyk, he will be meeting the best other technical heavyweight in the world other than himself. And I'm going to go Fury. I would go Fury to come out on top.
Yeah, I think I'd agree on every single one
Yeah.
of those. But
yeah.
Good. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
No, you're not. But you know what? That's the great thing about this game, man. It's about views and opinions, and that's why we just keep gravitating back to it. There's no game like it, you know.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Well, very best of luck for 3 weeks' time. I'm sure I'll see you
Thanks, man.
during fight week.